my friends, on this Maundy Thursday. You know, growing up, I went to church a lot. You know those families that are pretty much in church every Sunday? Yeah, that was my family growing up. And the truth is, most of the time I enjoyed church. I mean, sometimes I didn't. I got bored. I was a normal kid. But, you know, people at church were pretty friendly. They liked me. I had friends there. And I really didn't put up much of a fuss. But that changed. That changed in middle school, when I informed my parents I would not be going to church. And you might imagine that my parents were a little taken back, surprised, but being the parents they were, they decided to hear me out. Okay, why? What don't you want to go to church? And I said simply this: I'm not going to Maundy Thursday. They said, oh, well, why not? I said, I don't like it. And they said, well, Brian, why don't you like Maundy Thursday? It's too sad. It's too sad, I told them. And you know what? It was sad. The church I grew up in didn't have a Good Friday service, so our Maundy Thursday service commemorated and remembered and reflected upon Maundy Thursday and Good Friday, and so it was appropriately sad. Teenage Brian didn't like sad. Teenage Brian didn't like angry. Teenage Brian didn't like fear. There's a lot of that in these stories that we're going to read Maundy Thursday and Good Friday. There's a lot of that. And Teenage Brian didn't need that. He didn't need more sad in his life. He didn't need more anger, didn't need more fear. So I told my parents I wasn't going. I wasn't going. You know, I can make that same case. I can make the case that we should dial back on the sad this year. Dial back on the fear, dial back on the anger. You know, maybe even skip over these stories of, you know, betrayal by your friends, a last meal that takes a turn. I mean, there's a lot here that's not really fun to read. And I mean, let's be real, right? There's plenty of anger. There's plenty of sadness. There's plenty of fear in our world. You know what? The church, of all people, we need to be positive. We need to be uplifting and encouraging people. We don't need to be doing more of sadness and anger and fear, right? You could have convinced teenage Brian of that. But there's something that I've learned. And it's something that relates to life. And that's simply this: anger, fear, and sadness are part of life. Oh yeah. You know that, I know that. But here's the thing, it's more than just that. When people ask me what makes ministry great, I tell them. And when people ask me what makes ministry so challenging, I tell them. And here's the thing, the answer to those questions, what makes ministry great and so challenging, are the same. The greatest and most challenging part of ministry is this: it is standing with people, walking alongside people through the most momentous occasions of their lives. The birth of children, the death of loved ones, and sometimes their own death in those final days and hours. It's through the biggest challenges they face, when the marriage is on the rocks, when things are not going well, when the family is not functioning the way that they want it to. We stand with people through those moments. In the moments when people are beginning to reflect on their own sense of call and wondering if God has something new, exciting, and scary for them. That is where we are, the church, are called to stand with people. It's that standing with people that I think is so critical to the ministry and life of the church. And I don't just mean for pastors, I mean for everybody. The church community is called to stand with one another through the good, the bad, and the ugly of all our lives. That's why we need Holy Week. Don't get me wrong, Holy Week's really important. It's an important part of the story. It's an important part of Jesus' ministry. It's essential, but I think it's even more than that when we reflect on it in the life of the church, because it makes space for the good, the bad, and the ugly. It lets us look at disciples who would go on to be the giants of the faith, who blow it in spectacular fashion during the events of Holy Week. It lets us reflect on a tragic and unjust event resulting in the death of an innocent man that yet brings hope into the world. The events of Holy Week, the events of Maundy Thursday and Good Friday, they're sad. And they have a lot of fear, and they have a lot of anger. But what I've really come to appreciate is that if we are to be the people of God that we're called to be, if we are to be the community that stands with one another through those challenging days, we need to take these days seriously. Because it's this week, particularly this week, as we read these texts of Maundy Thursday, Good Friday, that we are reminded that sometimes life is good, sometimes life is bad, sometimes life is downright ugly. And in the midst of all of that, our God never ceases to be at work. And therefore, the ministry of the church should never cease to be at work. And so my message for all of you this Maundy Thursday is simply this. Yep, it's sad. Maundy Thursday is sad. Good Friday is sad. These events are sad. They evoke anger and fear. There's a lot of that. But they're important because they make space for us to remember that in the good, the bad, and the ugly, our God is always faithful. And no matter what comes, the good, the bad, and the ugly, we know that Sunday's coming. Friends, have a blessed Maundy Thursday. Have a blessed Good Friday. And remember that Sunday's coming.